Good morning, Rover fans. What a lovely sight. Glass fitted in the Rover. I've also added my trim pieces here. They just have black headed rivets along the inner side, and that bit gets tucked into that seal. I did some more cleanup last night just to get the worst of it off. I haven't gone mental because it's quite difficult to reach in places, but what I've noticed is overnight this seal has sunk in even more, so that the corners I was worried about have dropped in. This bit was the part that was damaged, which still looks rubbish, and again, I didn't damage it, it's just the way it came when I ordered it. I don't think they get stored particularly well. That one also done the same. Needs to go in a bit at the top there. I need to open that up with some WD-40, push it in and clamp it. But no, that's all looking rather nice. I am continuing back with my work at the front of the car. I want it on the ground and rolling, so I have fitted my disc back plates with 3 M6 bolts with a load of copper slip on them. This is the original front hub unit with the plain disc. I'm putting this on temporarily. This bearing is knackered, so I'll be changing all the wheel bearings, but just so that this thing can roll around under its own weight on its axles and I can do up the rest of the suspension. This is going on. That kitty goes in there, like so, and then we've got that washer with the groove in it, worn face in, plain nut. Again, some of these are shouldered, so that has the curved face on it. This side, that's flat, so we'll go flat side down. Yeah, you get the idea. This is why my videos last for ages. There's not a lot going on, but it's me being inefficient and dropping things. Oh, you can hear how dry that bearing is, but you know, it's on there enough for current purposes. That will have a split pin eventually. Well, I could go quite a lot more, couldn't it? Right, well, I'll do that properly off camera. This side, the ball joint was just spinning every time I tried to tighten it up, so I've got a jack underneath to lock it in position, so I can actually get some tension on it. And then the hub can go on temporarily, of course. I've left the lock nuts on the rack, super baggy as well, so it should be easy to adjust the toe. Apologies if this is a repeat of something that was already in a previous video, or even the beginning of this one. I don't know, I can't remember. But when I first got the car, power steering worked. Then when I was preparing to load it up and take it to the body shop, power steering pipe blew, and it basically had rusted through, so I had to bin it. I was pondering how to go about sorting it because the diesel power steering pipes are no longer available, but then I went through my boxes of bits and found some power steering pipes for a V8 manual, a right-hand drive V8 manual, and lo and behold, I managed to bend them to fit into the rack, and that delivers them over to this side of the car. That's not the whole story yet though, because I can make one of them fit. The high pressure one, it does a loop and then goes in the back. Well, that does work, but and there's nothing else that goes in that space, so that might end up staying. It's not stressed, it doesn't foul on the engine mount, and I'm kind of happy with it. The other one just is too short, so I'm going to have to extend it, but it's the low pressure one, and that's good because the low pressure one is just attached to the pump and the rest of the pipe work with Jubilee clips, which means that I can fit like a barbed coupling ferrule Jubilee clips to extend it. So the plan is to find what I've done. Oh, there it is. This kitty down here. So there it is, coming from the rack. Pull that plug out, stick whichever of these ferrules fits in better, probably the bigger one. That fits, probably has a more similar internal bore diameter. That's closer. And I can reuse some of the pipe from the original knackered one. So I'll cut a good length out of the middle of there. It's still fine rubber. There's no perishing, no splitting. And the great thing about reusing this stuff is you know it's power steering line safe. So I shall do that and then show you the end result. So that is a section of the old pipe cut off with that ferrule brass fitting wedged in. And I'll have to go and get some WD-40, but it fits. It's just a really nice fit, and the great thing is that that bore is ever so slightly larger than the delivery or the return, so ideal. I like it. Bloody groove there. These two can now be cable tied together. That needs doing up. Then underneath, it's looking quite handsome really. So those two I'll make, you know, you buy those double clips. I'll get a double clip for that one, and then that one will sit on top. And then in here as well, that all works nicely. So happy with that, because that was a head scratcher. Right, next, exhaust. There is an exhaust over there, stainless bit down under there. I'm gonna clean up and then get under there and mount everything. Then when that is done, I'm going to put the car on the floor. Woohoo! Got my wheels on, cleaned up a fair bit of the underside of the car. Here we have the stainless exhaust. I've already fitted the downpipe. And the union here just has 2 bolts, and what I'm starting to think is it probably has to have an olive. I'll have to go and remind myself what the bottom of the downpipe looks like. That joint there is just a straight clamp. Ignore this tailpipe. Basically, at the moment, I've got enough pipe to go over the rear axle and then down, but what I don't have is the last part, the tailpipe. So I'll be getting to somewhere like there and then nothing. But that's okay, just to get the thing running and moving around. Let's go and have a look and see what we need for there. And I'll also be, excuse me, reminding myself where exactly that went. Most of these usually go around there somewhere, and then that bit picks up on a gearbox mounting. But we'll have a look. I am feeling most smug once again. I went through my boxes of bits to get some exhaust hanger rubbers, and then I remembered I had this tray, and I thought, oh, I wonder whether that will fit this pipe for that bit. Sure enough it does, and better than that, brand new olive, perfect size for that. So I'm very pleased. I don't think I'll even need any exhaust goop on that. It's such a nice finished surface, and this will flare out when that goes through. So we just need to fit. I don't know why I keep saying we. I guess that means you lot at home are going to help me. But we have probably, that might be enough actually. These are fine pitch bolts, so I don't know whether I've got nuts for those. If not, I'll just have to go rummage around. And what's that? M8, M10, M8. But no, we're good to go. So I'm going to go get a wire brush and clean that kiddie up and give it a touch of that silver high temperature paint. Thought I'd open up a packet of brand new exhaust hangers and just suspend this rear box about where it needs to be, so that the swan neck goes over the rear axle like so. But guess what? It's sitting at a really stupid angle, so that channel there and those 2 hooks are meant to be where this goes, but it ain't happy. The only thing I can think is I've got it in round the wrong way, but then that wouldn't make sense either, because then this section wouldn't have anything to go to. So I suspect that this is just, once again, shit quality parts. You pay a lot of money for these things. I mean, that's just going to hammer itself silly on the underside of the floor anyway, so that's annoying. I've been fiddling around with this for a while. I've got my cross member thing in. The exhaust is sitting above it. If I do that, you can see a bit better. Running through to the back. And then that's my bracket, which will go up and on to the gearbox there. Up here, that is connected with the olive, but it is still a bit of a mystery as to what's meant to go on here. Clearly, this slides over that, or it's supposed to, but that box should not be sitting at like 45 degrees to horizontal. And although I don't have the tailpipe for it yet, I can't imagine the tailpipe coming out over there when the aperture for it is over here. Well, that's where the box would be. You know, it's over here, which is like weird. So, bollocks. Gimme. Whee! It's all a bit weird. If I pull this down and around to get it to go, you can move it closer, but that bracket up there on that side would be totally pointless. I've got a feeling I'm going to have to cut these mounting ears, fit this to that, and then weld up new mounting ears onto this box. Just been fiddling with it a bit more, and yeah, it's definitely going to need some welding action. But there's little point in me doing the welding until I have whatever piece goes here, because they will all work together. So I think I need to buy or make up or get the materials to make a tailpipe. I can't remember whether diesels had a back box or whether they just had a straight pipe, but I'll have a look. And then we'll have to borrow a favour of my next door neighbour, who's an extremely good welder, fabricator, and builds coach bodies. So we'll have to beg a favour and ask him if he can pop round one evening. I'll tack it, and then he can take it back to the workshop and TIG it up, because I can't weld stainless. Right, next job is, before I forget, and while I'm under here, remove the plug from the axle and fill it with oil, because I'm paranoid I'll forget about that. Can't remember where I was in the last video, but I was probably bitching about the exhaust. Decided to have another look at it, and I've now, what have I done? Tightened it up at the front. I've fitted the gearbox mount, and now I had that chisel in between the cross brace and the exhaust, so I've got a nice gap there. The rear box is just hanging over there. Let's go and have a look now. The box I've got rotated so that it is at least horizontal in sort of this plane. Yeah. There's loads of room over the axle, and it's exiting somewhere close to middle. I've also found this tailpipe. This is not a diesel tailpipe. This is actually off the back of a Rimmer Brothers stainless sports exhaust. But you can see we're getting somewhere close. The only problem is this system has just a compression joint and would have got into a wider sort of female receiver. This has a 2 bolt flange that would have taken an olive like that, so that will need attention. The other big problem is still the hangers are totally wrong. It's almost as if they welded this bar on the wrong way round, when they fabricated the exhaust. So they've put this one on the wrong side, or they welded the box in the wrong way around. I don't know, but either way, it's totally fucking wrong. That all lines up there, that's not a problem. So what I might do is fiddle around with this and then measure up a piece of bar to extend that up to there. Sorry, get the whole thing a lot higher as well. So that's the plan. My wonderful neighbour Jim has just brought me round a piece of stainless bar about 10mm diameter so I can make my exhaust hanger. This is going to be really like difficult to bend, but my plan is stick the nib of that in there, wang it up, heat it up with the map gas and yank it. Then once I've done about 90 degrees, beat the rest around with a hammer to give a hook, and then the rest of it I'll probably do once I've you know, under the car. I'll mark it, move it, mark it, move it, all that sort of stuff. This has been cooking for a while now. I don't think it's ever going to get visibly hot like cherry red or anything. I think I'd need a lot more energy, so that's probably about as hot as I'm going to be able to get it. So it is. Let's turn that kiddie off. Ooh, little fart at the end there. How nice. Let's give it a wang. Stay. From my tongue. Oof, yeah, that's hot. Even with all that heat, that is still a dick to bend. Right, now I'm going to clamp it the other way and wall up that bit to make it a bit of a tighter bend. So what I have done is I've bent that one further this way, which pulls the exhaust into a line, and then that is my piece of bar, which I've then reshaped. I've cut the old hook off, reshaped this and made some pen marks so I know where it goes, and that will just sit there. So I'm going to MIG weld it to the other bar in a couple of places, and then the rest can be just stainless welded to fill in the gaps. And the good thing is that I'm going to get this welded to that bar and maybe a seam along here, just so that it's nice and secure, but less weld will have to go into the can. It can just go onto the bar. They just have 2 heavy tacks on there, and that should be enough to hold it while it gets properly welded. I mean, I could just run a seam up there and it would be fine, but don't like the idea of that just rusting in the future, because this is mild, so it would just trap water and then rot out in no time. So yeah, I'll refit that on the car just to check alignment, and then I might need to bend that a tiny bit more. I'm happy with that. It's not perfectly in the middle, but I do still have some bendage room on both of these. What's more important is that it hangs really nicely here, and I've got clearance between the exhaust and the transmission tunnel, and yep, that should be good. And then when I work out a tailpipe solution, I can excuse me, hope you're not all feeling travel sick now, but yeah, I can, you know, that is not going to be far off if I go with that one. Or if I find something else, or I make something custom with a box, I can modify this to suit if I need, or just modify the hangers again. The whole reason I want this on there is I can hear what it sounds like without a back box, and then decide whether I want to keep it without the back box or just, you know, just go with straight pipe, or whatever. But anyway, that's good. I'm going to whip that off, take it around to my next door neighbour.